With us now is Democratic strategist Matt Bennett and Madison Gesiotto, Republican political strategist. Matt, what does this look like to you?
Well, this is typical Trump. It's retribution against enemies, both real and imagined. And I think it's very important to emphasize that with Trump, too, the only thing that matters is absolute loyalty. It's ironic because, they're making a big deal about getting rid of DEI because all they want are people that rise on their own merit. And yet the only thing that gets you into the Trump administration or gets you the president's favor is being absolutely loyal to Trump. And he has decided that these three guys haven't been loyal to him. And that makes them, and he's taking away their security protection, which means they're now vulnerable to assassination by the Iranians. He's sending a very clear signal to everybody. Not only could you lose your job, you could lose your life if you cross Trump in ways that rise to his attention.
Madison?
Yeah, I just don't think that's the truth. I mean, there's a lot of intelligence behind this going to this decision. When you're granted this type of protection, it's not for life, it's not forever. And so they continue to analyze that information. This is something that Biden did as well, actually taking back some of the protection for one person involved in the same situation under Trump. And so President Trump and his team, they reviewed this information and they determined that these threats were not what they once were. And so they decided to pull this back. Keep in mind, of course, that this costs millions of dollars per person per year that taxpayers have to pay. And so if this threat isn't as high as it once was and they don't seem to think that that protection is warranted, then I think it's absolutely justified to pull it back.
It is notable that the Biden administration thought it was merited until just a few days ago when they were still in office. I also want to talk on the subject of foreign policy. Look, President Trump has said a lot the last 4 days. I mean, Kate just ran through the huge number of things he's done, and that has run hand in hand with these huge number of running news conferences and commentaries. And he did go on quite a bit about his feelings about what happened in Ukraine. Listen to this.
Zelensky was fighting a much bigger entity, much bigger, much more powerful. He shouldn't have done that because we could have made a deal, and it would have been a deal that would have been a nothing deal. I could have made that deal so easily. And Zelensky decided that I want to fight.
I want to fight, Madison. Zelensky decided he wanted to fight because Russia invaded Ukraine. I mean, wasn't there a time, Madison, when Republicans would have looked at this and said that's appeasement?
Well, I think as a Republican, you look forward and what's in the best interest of not only Ukraine, but in the best interest of Russians and best interest of the entire world, and that's less lives lost. And so if we can make a deal at this point with Trump in office to make sure that we now tamp down on the number of lives lost moving forward, I think that's in the best interest of everybody.
True. Although, Matt, that was backwards looking. That was saying he was, if I say true, that's maybe what Donald Trump is looking for going forward, but that was backwards looking to the extent saying that Zelensky should have fought back.
I mean, how do you make a deal when your country has been invaded, when your civilian population is being attacked, your energy infrastructure is being attacked, your nuclear energy facilities are being attacked by a gigantic army? That is the most ridiculous comment of many ridiculous comments Trump has made over the last several days. There's absolutely no way that Zelensky could have cut a deal with an army invading.
Mm-hmm. Madison, what do you make of the fact that President Trump, we learned when we woke up this morning, invited Senator Adam Schiff with him to tour some of the fire damage in California? He has, just the other day, called Adam Schiff scum. He also said that he was the enemy within and should be in jail. What do you make of that outreach?
Yeah, definitely not expected, but I think anytime we can see bipartisanship, especially in a time of natural disaster, is very important. But of course, Trump going in this morning to California, and he's been very critical of many of the Democrats in that state, including Newsom. And of course, wildfire management isn't the only criticism he's had of him. He's been very hard on him on elections, too. Here in Ohio, we have free and fair elections. It's very easy to vote. It's very hard to cheat, and we count our votes very quickly. California, not so much. I mean, they were still counting into December. They mail out tens of millions of ballots that aren't even requested. And so he's hit Newsom very hard on this. We saw Trump work very well with Newsom in certain instances during that first administration. I think we'll continue to see the same, but it may not look the same as it once did. And so I think that'll be something interesting to watch this morning in California and moving forward in this administration.
And look, we are standing by to see President Trump leave the White House. I'm sure he will comment, probably speak to microphones there. We might get a sense of what the tenor will be over the course of the day. Matt, do you care to lay a wager on whether or not President Trump will rise above politics and talk about disaster relief and aid, or do you think by the end of today in California politics we'll get back into it?
I think the odds of him rising above are about the same as the Bills winning by $1 billion, which is to say 0. He never rises above. He is incapable of rising above. The only thing that matters to Trump is his own interest and his own personal grievances, so he will not. If you think back to the first term, where he was supposed to be the consoler in chief when terrible things happen, natural disasters or mass shootings. I mean, remember the image of him standing with the baby who had just been orphaned in a mass shooting with his thumb up and smiling. He does not know how to have human empathy, and when he goes to these places, he's very bad at it. So guarantee that he will take shots at the governor, and he will not provide the kind of comfort that a normal president would in a place like Los Angeles right now.
Oh, we will see. He will be leaving the White House shortly. Matt Bennett, Madison Jessiotto, thanks so much for being with us this morning. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Sarah?